If you're running a global tech team, you know the dream, right? Seamless, fast-moving, agile collaboration. But the reality? It's often a total mess of time zones and, more importantly, language barriers. But what if the solution wasn't about forcing everyone to speak one language? What if it was about empowering them to speak their own language? Well, a new approach using AI is making that a reality. Let's dive in.
You know, this whole challenge, it always starts with people. Just picture it. Priya, a brilliant developer trying to explain a really tricky bug, but she's struggling to do it in her second language. Or think about Carlos, who has this amazing, game-changing idea, but just can't find the right English words to do it justice. And look, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. It's the daily reality for so many global teams out there.
So this brings us to a really critical question. What's the actual cost of forcing everyone to operate in a single default language? Are we just getting basic compliance from our global teammates, or are we getting their full, creative, absolutely brilliant contributions? Because I think those are two very different things.
And the thing is, this isn't just an interpersonal thing. It's baked into the system. The Agile Manifesto, it's all about individuals and interactions, right? But the reality is that most of our tools, from Jira to the Scrum guides, are just relentlessly English-centric. And this creates this subtle but incredibly powerful barrier that ends up sidelining a huge portion of your talent.
And believe me, this is not a niche problem. Not at all. Data from GitLab shows that nearly 3/4 of teams have people in at least 3 different locations. Almost half are spread across 4 or more time zones and languages. So this default to English approach isn't some small convenience. It's a major operational hurdle that's impacting the majority of today's global workforce.
So how does this actually show up in our daily work? Well, it's not just about grammar mistakes. It's about cognitive load. That's the mental gymnastics of translating in your head before you even open your mouth. It slows everything down. It leads to people simplifying their complex ideas, or worse, just not sharing them at all.
You know, this friction, it doesn't just feel bad for the team. It has a direct, measurable cost to the business. When communication starts to break down, guess what follows? Efficiency and innovation.
Okay, let's talk numbers. A Harvard Business Review study found that teams dealing with these language barriers spend 23% more time just in sprint planning. Think about that for a second. Nearly a quarter of your planning time is just gone, lost in translation. That's time you're not building.
And it gets even worse in retrospectives where nuance is absolutely everything. When that nuance gets lost, so does the commitment. These same teams see a 31% lower completion rate on their action items. The will to improve is there, but the clarity just gets lost along the way.
And here's the real kicker. 18% more rework. This is the direct cost of those little misunderstandings and requirements. It literally means you're building the wrong thing, and then you have to waste time and money to build it all over again.
So the most important point here is that these numbers, they aren't just red marks on some project manager's dashboard. No way. They represent brilliant ideas that were never shared. They represent crucial feedback that was never given. They represent the untapped potential of your entire global team.
But what if we could change all that? This is where a new generation of AI is stepping in. It's acting not just as a simple translator, but as a true team interpreter. We're going to take a look at a really cool open-source project from India called Bharat Gen.
Now, Bharat 10 is not your average translation tool. We're not talking about Google Translate here. This thing has been trained specifically on 22 different Indian languages, and more importantly, on the specific vocabulary of software development and Agile. It's designed to get context, technical terms, and even cultural communication styles.
So how does it actually work? Well, at its core, it's doing real-time processing, and it maintains the context of a conversation. It actually knows what it refers to after a long back and forth. Crucially, it makes sure technical terms are translated accurately, and it can even help adapt ceremonies to better fit local cultural norms. It's pretty amazing.
So what does this actually look like day to day? Let's take a look at how this kind of tech can completely transform some of the most common Agile ceremonies we all know.
All right, let's take the daily stand-up. On the left, you see the before. It's slow, people give simplified updates because of that cognitive load we talked about. But now, look at the right, the after. A developer speaks in their native language, and the rest of the team gets an accurate real-time translation. The AI can even spit out a summary in multiple languages after the meeting. It's a total game changer.
Now, retrospectives, this is where things get even more powerful, because psychological safety is everything here.
With an AI interpreter, team members can give honest feedback in their own language, which preserves all that crucial emotional nuance. The AI can then spot common themes across all the different languages, helping facilitators uncover the real root issues that are holding the team back.
Okay, all this sounds great in theory, but I know what you're thinking. Does it actually work in the real world? Let's look at the results from teams who have already put this into practice.
So, in our first case study, there's a large public sector project in India. They were really struggling because the teams and the stakeholders all spoke different regional languages. So they brought in Bharat Gen for their retros and feedback sessions. And the result? Not only was team satisfaction way up, but they were building better, more culturally relevant solutions for their citizens.
And here is the proof. Just look at that jump. They saw a 60% increase in participation during retrospectives. That is a massive leap in engagement. It just shows that people finally felt like they could contribute meaningfully and, just as important, safely. Okay, case number 2, a global e-commerce company. Their problem was that all these valuable market insights from their German and Brazilian teams were just getting lost in translation. By using real-time translation in their planning meetings, they got a 40% boost in feature adoption in those markets. They were finally building what local users actually wanted. It's that simple.
So the evidence is pretty clear. This technology works. The real question is, how can you start moving your team toward this new, more inclusive way of working?
Well, here's a pretty simple framework to get you started. First, start small. Pick a high-impact ceremony where the pain is greatest, like retrospectives. Second, make sure the AI you're using understands your technical domain. Accuracy is key. Third, and this is a big one, you have to normalize and celebrate the use of native languages, not just tolerate it. And fourth, you have to get buy-in from leadership. This has to be supported from the top down.
So let's just bring it all together. The big takeaway is this: language isn't some soft problem. It is a major performance barrier. And culturally aware AI is the key to breaking it down. But real success, that takes both the right tools and the right mindset from leadership. The companies that figure this out are going to unlock a massive competitive advantage.
And that leaves us with one final thought I want you to consider for your own team. Are you getting true, deep collaboration from every single person? Or are they just complying with the path of least resistance because it's easier? The answer to that question could unlock the next level of your team's potential.